Sometimes you need to joint the edge at an angle to the face. This is known as a chamfer. If you keep jointing the board until the angle extends from face to face, you now have a bevel. Here is a side-by-side comparison of a bevel and a chamfer. To create either, tilt the fence to the desired angle. You may use the tilt scale on the fence or a sliding T-bevel to get the proper setting. Set the infeed table to remove between 1/16 of an inch and 1/8 inch of material. On the first pass, very little material will be removed. As more of the edge is removed, you may need to reduce the setting. Listen to the sound of the machine and observe the quality of the cut. Beveling and chamfering are similar to edge joining, except that the fence is tilted. You have two options when tilting the fence. You can either tilt it towards the cutter head or away from the cutter head. Tilting it away from the cutter head keeps your hands further from the danger zone. However, there is a greater chance that the board can slide down and away from the fence. The other option is to tilt the fence towards the cutter head. While your hands are closer, it is easier to keep the board tight to the fence while feeding. Whichever way you choose to angle the fence, it is best to expose the least amount of cutter head as possible. Move the fence to the outboard end of the table when chamfering or beveling. When working with stock less than 4 inches in width, be sure to use a push stick to keep hands away from the cutter. Few people know that jointers can be used to create tapers. While other machines and processes may be more effective for tapering, it's helpful to know how to cut a taper on a jointer. To produce a partial taper, such as what is shown here, you need to locate where the knife enters the stock. With the machine locked out, slide the fence over so only the necessary amount of cutter head is exposed. Set the infeed to the desired amount of taper to be removed. For example, this taper is 3/8 of an inch over 1 foot. Place the stock on the infeed table and rotate the cutter head until you find the point where the knife intersects with the start of the taper. Hold the stock in place and clamp a stop block to the fence. The stop block helps locate the stock and prevents it from being pushed back as it is lowered onto the spinning cutter head. The next step is very important. Start the machine and slowly lower the stock onto the spinning cutter head. Move the stock forward, being careful not to put excessive pressure on the front edge, which could cause it to tip forward. The challenge with tapering on a jointer is that the amount of taper is limited by the maximum depth of cut that the jointer can take. In addition, tear out can occur when excessive amounts of material are removed towards the end of the cut. A more effective approach is to cut the taper beforehand with a table saw or bandsaw, and then use the jointer to clean up the saw marks. If you have watched all 4 videos in this series, you should have a good understanding of what a jointer is capable of. To ensure the safe use of this machine, follow recommended operating procedures and know where your fingers are at all times.